The topic of the video is going to disappoint you in the end. It's happiness, but it's not a happy video. It's a video of how we convince ourselves that we're happy. You can watch a very good video on that topic by a psychologist, Dan Gilbert. I hope that I pronounced his name right, because I only read it. I don't remember how it's pronounced. So anyway, and he talks about in an optimistic way, actually, or an optimistic perspective. He talks about how we are synthesizing happiness when it doesn't come naturally, and he explains how under any circumstances, lots of people, maybe the majority of people, tend to call themselves or find themselves happy with whatever they've got. And after all sorts of tragedies, misfortunes, people still find a way to be happy. And he explains this phenomenon, which he calls synthetic happiness. He provides the examples of, as far as I remember, right, bad marriages when it's not easy to get out of marriage for some reason, one or another. I don't claim that this is anything like exact words or anything. I'm just I've watched this video a long time ago, but anyway, this would be an example that you can't end this marriage for one reason or another. You have to continue it, but you really you don't like being in that marriage. You don't love your partner. You're not friends with your partner. Whatever. It's not fulfilling in any way, this marriage. Maybe it's just a draggery today. But since you can't end this, you have to stay in that marriage. Since you have to, you will not just stay in that marriage and be miserable most of the cases and admit to yourself that, oh, okay, I'm just staying here because I'm afraid to end this marriage, because I'm afraid I'm not going to find anyone better, and I suck, and I don't make enough money, and I will just find somebody as bad as this, so this marriage sucks and my life sucks, and so yeah, life is horrible. People don't tend to do that because that's very uncomfortable. Okay, and we, like any other animals, are trying to make ourselves as comfortable as possible in any situation, by any means possible, right? So what the person will do in that situation is try and convince themselves that this marriage is not that bad. Actually, this partner is not that bad. I've seen worse. And since I'm staying here, I must be enjoying it. It actually has to do with the cognitive dissonance theory. It has been first demonstrated, the experiments were done by Festinger, you can have a look at that, and it just demonstrates that as soon as the person have chosen to act in a certain way for some reason, then the person will tend to adjust their beliefs to that behavior. So in this example, if the person has chosen to continue the marriage, then they will tend to adapt their beliefs to suit their behavior, to correspond to their behavior. So they won't have this cognitive dissonance of, I hate this person and I'm choosing to continue this marriage. So if they've chosen to continue this marriage, then they will try and convince themselves that they actually like this person to a certain extent, and maybe actually they like this person a lot and they like this marriage. And the garbage pickup is here, which is very disturbing. I lack some good sounding polite words. So anyway, I'll just close the window so I don't have a cognitive dissonance of having to endure what I dislike and whatever. But then it's also not a perfect option because it will be too hot here, because central heating is something I cannot regulate. So I will try and convince myself that I like living in the house where the central heating cannot be regulated. And yeah, it's kind of nice feeling hot, and you know, hot is good and blushing is good, and yeah, why not? It adds some spice to your life, because hey, who likes that easy life when you can just turn off the heating and turn it on and adjust the temperature? Who likes that? That's too easy. I mean, you gotta have life with some obstacles, with some, you know what I mean, right? So this is another example of how we try to find positive aspects of unpleasant situations we're in that we cannot easily change. Because sometimes people will argue that actually, well, you can change the situation. Yeah, you can. Practically any situation can be changed in a certain way, but somebody said a good phrase. Anyway, when we don't like the exit of some situation, we call this situation with no exit, because we're not ready to pay the price for that exit. It's just unacceptable. So when something is unacceptable, it almost equals no exit. Okay, so for some people it's unacceptable to end their marriage, and you know, how will they look to their kids' eyes when they're very religious or something. And for some other people it's unacceptable, I don't know, to quit their job, and for some others it's unacceptable to do this and that. So it almost can be said to be equal to no exit, no way out of this situation, because no acceptable way out. And now I just closed this window and this noise stopped. I mean, how do you like this? I mean, I hate this. Why doesn't this noise continue? I just made an effort to stand up and close this. Life sucks. I mean, what more evidence do you need? Okay, trying to be funny. And they also say it's a Maiden's tragedy. When people trying to be funny, I mean, everything is a Maiden's tragedy these days. Everything. Creativity is a Maiden's tragedy. Being funny, being intelligent. I don't know, I guess breathing, getting out of the house, going, doing groceries, everything is a Maiden's tragedy. I just think has to do with survival, and you know, structure and time sometimes have to do something in life besides I don't know, maiden. Anyway, this is a different topic, an interesting one I'm thinking about these days, but this is not the subject of this video. So happens, yeah, and the no way out situations. So yeah, you will find the videos and materials on how people will try and convince themselves that they are happy being in a situation they're in, even when looking from the side, we will see that the situation is crap. I mean, somebody has been in a car accident and has lost some of their mobility, and now they're saying that they have seen, I don't know, some spiritual side of life. They become more intimate with their family, and they've discovered some talents because of that. So they actually count that as a good thing that happened to them. Some even say it's the best thing that ever happened to me. But yeah, Dan Gilbert actually argues that they are happy, and it's not worse than natural happiness, so to say, right? But they are happy because they don't have any other choice. For me, that matters too, because you know, having to be happy with what you've got is, yeah, well, it sort of works, but it's not something I would buy if I was in the store. I wouldn't buy a car accident and having to do the magic trick in my head to accept the situation to then be happy with whatever I've got after the car accident. I wouldn't buy that. I would just buy the natural happiness of having the wildest dream and having them all come true. That's what I would have bought, but not the other things. But it's not the point, again, that I'm trying to make. The point is that just as this is the situation, the case with tragic accidents, you know, the joyless marriages and all other traps people find themselves in. Another, for example, that I forgot to mention, like Stockholm Syndrome situations. For example, when children are being kidnapped by some pedophile, and they keep them in their house trapped for years and rape them from once a while. Those children grew up, and sometimes they're not children, and so it's not necessarily that it has to happen from a very early age. It can be adults too, and they develop some sort of attachment to their kidnapper. They even come to love them, and they will come to visit them in jail, because, well, but there's no doubt at first they are suffering there. They don't appreciate being put in that situation, and there's a lot of suffering and pain involved at first. But then when they are trapped there and they see that there's no way out, nobody's coming for them, you know, half a year have passed or something, and it's just endless. It's going on and on and on, and they have, you know, nothing they can do about it. They can either continue being stressed, down, and, you know, feeling depressed, feeling destroyed all the time, but the other option is to try and find some positive aspects even in that grave circumstance, which is what seems to happen in virtually all cases, right, as far as I'm aware. So this is our psychological immune system working, and it's basically saying to us, look, you can't change this, you can't get out. The only two options is either be miserable or try and find something, some way of looking at this situation, some way of living in it, and be happy, or as happy as you can be. And of these two options, I think it's more appealing to choose the option where you are not as miserable, which is what seems to be happening. So where I was going with this is this seems to be the case with life in general. Life is what happens to us without our consent. Life is something that isn't easy to get rid of or get out of life, right? There's no easy way out of life. So the same set of rules, inclinations, would work in this case as well. We would also tend to find positive aspects of life, even though we didn't initially enjoy getting into this circumstance. We would still tend to find something consoling, something great, something joyful, something something positive, because we continue living. And since we continue living, it does us no good, serves no good purpose to be miserable, right? So it's only natural when people try and convince themselves that they are actually enjoying their life. just like some people convince themselves that they enjoy their marriage or that they love their kidnapper, because then it makes it easier to endure this situation that we're in, this trap. So this is basically my thoughts on the matter, you know. I hear some people arguing that, well, you can always commit suicide, that's your way out, as if that was an easy thing to do. If that was as easy as, pushing some button, and prior to that, there would have been no mental anguish involved, no fighting your own instincts that say survival, survival, survival for all costs, no matter what. If that wasn't the case, if there was just, yeah, okay, thanks guys, I've enjoyed some of this journey, and I think I'm not looking forward to anything in the future. I'm just tired. I think I'd rather go, so don't miss me, and I'll pass this to somebody else instead. But not me, but thank you, goodbye, and click. If that was the case, I would consider it, yes, that's the way out. But it's not like walking out of the cinema when you don't like the movie. In the case of a cinema, you can just stand up and walk out because the movie sucks and you're nauseous and you don't want to puke in the theater, so you will walk out and puke in the bathroom instead and never come back to watch the same movie. That's no problem. You don't have to sit there and rationalize why you're sitting there because there's some aspects of that movie that actually don't suck as much. You don't have to be in that position because you can just walk out. With life, it's not easy to end your own life, not technically but psychologically, given all the pain and this biological drive that says survive. Just because some people say that, well, people are enduring the horrible circumstance and still not killing themselves, that attests to the fact that life is wonderful, because why else would they stay alive? Well, I'm saying they're staying alive because life is not wonderful, but death is so much more horrifying to them still. When their life will get as horrifying or even more horrific as death in their perception, then they will be inclined to choose death. But until life is just, yes, sucky, annoying, but death is freaking horrifying, okay? It's only natural that they will choose to stay in the sucky circumstance, and because it's not pleasant to realize you're just staying in the sucky circumstances because you're afraid of the horrifying shit, you will just try and convince yourself that you're staying here because you find life exciting, because you have some hopes, because you want to achieve something, because you love something about life, and that's why you're staying. This is more pleasant, and most people will choose this as opposed to just admitting to themselves that they're staying here because they're fucking trapped. Yeah, another example I would give, in Soviet Union, here, or Soviet Union countries, and Soviet Union, our dentist industry, that's another industry, was government-controlled health clinics, and going to a dentist was like a torture, was a horrific experience, and everybody knew that. And I know that. It's traumatized me for the rest of them. Kidding. Oh, it wasn't that bad, but it was bad. No good anesthesia, all sorts of practices were much more barbaric. Today they're not barbaric at all, I would say. So a lot of people, the point is, they would try and postpone the inevitable as long as possible. I guess some of them would still hope it would go away, or the pain or the inflammation. They would go with this uncomfortable feeling, with this discomfort. They would endure it for as long as possible, even though it's pointless, because sooner or later you will still have to go to the dentist. But not today. And they would endure this discomfort for a long period of time, not because they appreciate something about that discomfort, but because they were afraid of the dentist and what's going to happen there, much more than they were inconvenienced by this discomfort. And not that discomfort was so little. Actually, some people were suffering quite a bit and going all the time, but still irrational, probably, but they were postponing the inevitable but horrifying event for as long as possible. So that's not an attestament to the fact that they liked or enjoyed the pain or the inflammation or whatever was happening in their mouth. They just were horrified with what you have to do to get rid of it. In just the same fashion, I think people are horrified at the only way out of this life. Anyway, bye-bye.